Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm going to start off, if that's okay, then we'll open it up to the floor. And Chris, I'm going to start at the faraway end, if that's okay.
Sure.
There's a wonderful tone to this film.
Yeah.
It's got that kind of lovely sort of air of comedy to it. Is that how important is that for you in terms of this type of film?
Yeah, very important. It was something when we talked about doing this film and doing the spin-off of the first one. That was one of my concerns, or one of my focuses, was to just have it be lighter in tone and a greater sense of adventure and up the humour. And even in the early drafts we got in, it was headed in that direction, and then we all kind of did our bit to alter it, and you guys especially kind of added quite a few jokes in and humour and fun. And I think it's great. It helps ground the fantastical elements of it all, you know, and I know as an audience, when I'm watching any sort of big epic fantasy, a bit of humour helps me kind of buy into it even more. So
you've got a couple of pretty funny guys as well next to you.
They're not bad,
Not that funny. But did you base them on any particular?
Okay. I based it around the character that I played in the first film.
I hadn't finished my question. I was going to ask if you based it on any comedy duo, in terms of, you know, the pair of you play off each other so well in this.
No, we've known each other for a while, and we like hanging out a bit and just.
Yeah.
Do you like each other?
We do like each other, and it is possible. It's possible, yeah.
Rob, how much were you allowed to kind of be involved in the script and in that kind of banter that your characters have with each other?
Not in the script stage at all, but it obviously.
I've got my notes.
Yeah. No, that doesn't happen. But certainly on set, very much Cedric was very open to ideas and add-ons, and there are several moments in the film that was stuff that we just came up with that he liked and he went with. So in that sense, it was lovely, because you know you could do the script, but if you had an idea for a little flourish or a beat that you thought would help with this lightness that Chris is talking about, you could put it in.
How close did you get to nailing Chris in terms of impressions as well?
I would never be so.
You did a few. Behind the scenes, the extras and DVD, I think there's a couple of Rob versions of me.
We had this thing going called Dear Diary. I had this thing where I'd work with someone, and he used to say a thing, if something happened in rehearsal, he'd say, "Dear Diary, a strange moment this morning when such and such." And Chris seemed to latch on to that. So
I butchered it, yeah. It was much funnier when you did it.
Well, no, he would constantly be saying, "Dear Diary."
Dear Diary.
I think the other thing that made us laugh a lot is wanting to go home immediately we came onto set. So we'd kind of set up the shot, and then I'd always say to Chris, "All right, well, that is the shape of it. Let's leave it there, and we will hit it hard on Monday." But it was Monday. You know.
Emily, with Freya, we never really get to know much backstory to villains, you know, in terms of why they are the way they are. But with Freya, it's very different. Did that kind of give you more scope in how you play her and how you kind of bring her alive?
Yeah, that was the appeal for me, was that you see the origin of the character as a very normal girl with sort of normal hopes and desires for life, and she's perfectly happy not discovering this power that seems to be a hereditary thing in her family, and she just wants to get married and have a child, and then suffers this great loss, and through that she becomes hardened, and hair turns white, as it does. Just skin turns white, and she becomes this ice queen who just wants to kidnap children and strip love out of their lives, with good intentions, obviously, to protect them from the future heartbreak. But so yeah, this is where Chris comes in. He is one of my children. I play his mummy in this, right?
Yes, Mum.
And Alex, there's this wonderful kind of camaraderie between yourself and Sheridan's character and these two, and it's just instant chemistry between you all. Was there much kind of prep before you started shooting with the four of you in those characters?
Yeah, there was a lot of prep. We did actually 3 weeks of what we call dwarf school.
Okay.
Which involved the four of us getting to know each other with our doubles, all having movement training, and then going off behind Shepperton. There's a woods there, and our movement trainer would take us out, and we'd be in a row, all trying to do this dwarf waddle. I mean, that was kind of bonding experience.
I'd already, for the first film, I'd already gone through dwarf college, so
You'd graduated.
I did like an hour every Tuesday night, and that was it.
Scared for those people who just came across you in the woods as well. That must have been
It's actually
terrifying.
harder than it looks, and it's very painful on your knees. I got to the point where I actually quit dwarf school.
Drop out.
I did. I said, I had enough of this. I can't, because my knees were about to collapse. Because you even slightly changing your gait, ever so slightly, Emily, a slight change, and I hope you never have to go through this, but when you change your gait a little bit, well, you know this, Edith.
Always on my knees.
It wrecks your legs. But it did mean that we got to know each other, and we got to bond a
Bonding.
bit, yeah.
It's important. Who would like to ask the first question from our audience? Lady there. There's a microphone, please.
Thank you so much. Hiya, Ellie Jones for Film and TV Now. Questions towards Emily, really. You're killing it with these strong female roles. You seem to pick ones that are really new and exciting. Is that a conscious effort from you, or is it a happy coincidence with what you're finding?
I do obviously try and pick characters that are empowered in some way and complicated and hard to pin down. I mean, I don't want to be pigeonholed as one thing, and this character for me was actually, you know, in a way quite vulnerable, you know, and emotionally a bit unhinged as a villain, and that was really appealing. But I do feel there's a new wave of, I think there's a steady increase of better roles for women out there. You do have to sort of search through the deluge of crap roles for women, like the damsel in distress tied to a tree. But I think that there is a wave coming of better roles. I don't think it's a tsunami. I think it's like a gentle, steady growth. It's just about maintaining it now. So I think I am aware of what I'm sort of putting out there to the world now, and I want to be challenged. So I don't want to just repeat myself, and I don't want to play just one thing.
Aren't you about to play a character called Tsunami?
It's such a great name.
That's actually a good name, yeah.
You
For
can
a
have that.
superhero.
Oh,
Part of the Avengers.
tsunami.
Next question, please, from our audience.
Yeah, just then.
He's quick, isn't he? He's quick.
Any from the gentleman there? There we go.
Another question for Emily.
Sorry, guys.
This is awkward.
We'll get to the rest of you later.
Chip off.
Dear Diary.
Obviously, a lot of people have already been making comparisons between your character and Elsa from Frozen.
It's just because we've both got white hair.
I know, and you both have ice powers, etc. But was that ever a reference?
It's true, there's that as well. We both live in ice palaces, and like, it's true.
Was that ever a reference point for you when you were kind of forming the character?
I watched Frozen 100 times. I'm very disappointed there's not a song in this film. It was not really a reference point. It was actually a cause of like, oh God, I'm going to be asked a lot of Frozen questions.
Sorry for being the first one.
How boring that you went there.
Wait for Huntsman, Winter's War, the musical.
Exactly.
That's what we're waiting for. Next question. Gentleman at the back there, your microphone, please.
Sorry, I noticed that the basis of the film was sort of moved away from the myth of Snow White this time to something quite new. If, as you hope, the film's successful, would you like, perhaps in a third film, for Snow White to return? To Chris.
Yeah, I mean, when we did the first film, we were talking about the potential of this film. We're talking about a Huntsman spin-off. We're talking about a Snow White sequel. And look, if there's an audience for either or both, then fantastic, you know. And I think that was the goal here, to do something, as you said, different. And then whether we segue back into, you know, more directly into that world, who knows? But
Would you like Kristen Stewart to perhaps return as Snow White again?
yeah, she was fantastic. You know, we had a great film, and she helped set up what we're doing now, you know. So I'd love to work with her again. And if we have the opportunity to pick up that story again, I think there's a lot of room for creative, you know, different versions of what we've already done. So.
Next question. Thanks. Lady at the front here, please. Very slow with your hand movements, everyone. It's like, very graceful.
Hannah from Maximum Park. This question's for Chris. Do you think that you should have had more topless scenes?
Yes, they all got cut out, actually. Because my hideous scars and things. Beaten.
And how long did it take you to master the accent?
Well, I had a dialect coach in the first film, and on this film that we sort of worked extensively with, and we were just wanted to create a difference in his tone and the musicality of his accent as opposed to everybody else. And the Scottish accent just has such a fun sort of rhythm and bounce to it, you know. You give me a few lessons too, it'd be nice, you know. Rob is kind of a master of accents.
He is Welsh.
Yes.
But he has.
No, I thought Chris's
quite
accent's fantastic, you know. I thought it was so consistent and real. I was very impressed.
You're really good at accents, Chris.
Yeah, you really is.
Especially the Australian one.
Do you find that an intimidating part of it in any way? You know, because you might have to get into a state of mind where it's second nature, I guess. You know, when you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, you just have to become kind of obsessive about it, and you know, it doesn't always work, but you just kind of keep kind of, you know, hammering away at it, and it's tough kind of slipping in and out of it, I think, especially when we start kind of bantering on set, and then you've got to action, you know, you've got to kind of hold yourself back sometimes, and I had a lot of tapes I listened to, and as I said, a great dialect coach, Richard.
Sean Connery's a great
Sean Connery, yeah.
Was that who you listened to?
No.
Hi, I'm Norlisa from Mary Claire. My question's for Emily. This is your first time playing like an overt villain role, and so what attracted you to that role, and which role do you prefer playing, a hero or villain?
I'm going to be interested to hear this.
I don't have a preference, Rob.
She doesn't have a preference.
What attracted me to it? I think I hadn't played this type of all-out villain, but I think a villain with a sort of empathetic backstory was really interesting, that you're not just presented with this rampaging lunatic in a film and just told to accept her. You're given the reason why she becomes that way, and that was really engaging for me. And really, you know, nothing against Chris Hemsworth whatsoever, but I was very attracted to the fact that there were 3 very empowered female roles in a film, which is quite rare. Not only to have 3 women in a film, but also, you know, just to have such kind of powerhouse roles, you know, that were complicated and different, and Alex's part and Sheridan Smith's part were also just really layered and really well written. There's just so many girls in this film that was really enticing, I think, for all of us, and so yeah, that dynamic was interesting. And
was that a dynamic you felt on set? Did it feel different having so many strong women on?
Did it feel different for you, Chris?
It's like having 3 sisters. Yeah, it just beat the hell out of me. I could deal with brothers. Sisters were tough.
A lot of estrogen.
Yeah.
A lot of, you know. Sometimes you'd walk into the makeup truck and there'd be a haze of estrogen. I'd have to clean my glasses 3 or 4 times.
I think I remember Jessica Chastain and I comparing something about like a facial cream that we used, and Rob comes up and he goes, "Dear diary, scintillating conversation from Emily and Jessica." You were very
Really?
rude.
Was I?
Yes.
I have no memory of that, but there we are.
did.
There we are.
Next question for our audience. Do you have one? Yeah, go for it. Don't be so shy. It's fine. You can put your hand up. There's a microphone right there.
I found... sorry. I found Charlize Theron's character like so spooky in the films.
She is.
When she's acting, is it that intense kind of on set, or do you have a bit of a laugh?
I remember, I don't think Jessica had met Charlize, neither had you.
No.
And you're both like, what's she like? You know, is she tough? Is she this and that? But she's fantastic. I mean, she swears more than anyone I've ever met. And is, you know, powerful on and off the screen, and, you know, a lot of fun.
She's a lot of fun. But she is like, when you're in a scene with her, it's like, it is really, she has a 1,000-mile stare. Like, when she locks in on you, you're like, oh my God. But she's really exciting to work with, because she is really powerful, and she's really uninhibited, and I love doing scenes with her. And the best part is she doesn't take any of it seriously, and so as soon as the cameras would cut, she'd be like, and then he basically turned to me. And so we'd just be carrying on with a story we were talking about before the scene. So she can kind of shut it on and off. Colleen Atwood's the costume designer, and she is amazing, and her attention to detail and the creativity of what she kind of infuses into the costumes is really remarkable, and she cares deeply. She's there every day, and that's quite rare for a costume designer to just be on set all the time. And but she does have this thing where, you know, I have this massive silver cloak made of braided silver leather. And when I see 4 grown men wrestling it onto set, it's when you're like, oh, that is definitely going to be heavy. And so I would put it on, and I said to Colleen, I went, oh, God, it's really heavy, Colleen. And she goes, I know. And she looked at me as if, like, it's about as heavy as my sack of Oscars. So just wear it, basically. It was so, but it really is, her work is just so exquisite. So I think we all felt like you should just wear it.
But the elegance you bring with it as well, even though it weighs tons, the way you kind of gracefully...
It was weird dragging that thing behind me, though. It was like... It was like dragging a man behind me.
Any more questions from our audience? Have any of our crew's got questions at the back, you guys? Don't want to miss you out? No, great. I can keep asking away then. I want to ask you two over there, please, Mr. Brydon and Mr. Frost. I think there's scope for a spin-off for you two. Or you 4.
Dwarves in Manhattan.
Your
Okay,
knees
what?
couldn't take it. It's a walking city.
Dwarves in Peckham.
That was our dream, that the dwarves
Yeah.
somehow got taken to modern-day New York. and their film
When 4 dwarves find themselves in Midtown Manhattan, anything can happen.
like Crocodile Dundee
Yeah.
with dwarves.
Yeah.
Now, you can imagine the dwarves have a whole thing going on, you know, because what's nice is the way they set out the relationships, especially between the male and the female dwarves who have contempt for each other. The male dwarves think the female dwarves are ugly as sin, and it's returned by the females. So it's very funny, you know, because we look so peculiar in it. Yeah, you could imagine them doing that, but could the knees take it? That's the question.
Not in New York.
No, not in New York. No.
So no then. Does anyone have any other... Hello? Yes. I'll get a microphone to you in just a second. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Olivia from Best. One of my favourite scenes in the film was when Mrs. Blenworth sets the trap for Dawes and Eric and Sarah, and just the absolute, like you said, contempt between the male and female dwarves back and forth. It really made me laugh. Did you have a break on set when you were filming those scenes? Have any laughter?
I don't know. That was a great scene to film. It was quite elaborate, the different setups with the net. I think it works really well.
I think we were pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I don't think we laughed much at all. Sometimes I'd weep. I'm usually in the trailer before work, but...
Well, when we were actually in the net, it was quite uncomfortable after a while, wasn't it?
Sandwiched onto each other.
When we're pushed in, after a while, it does get a little bit, could you shift a little bit, please? And if somebody shifts, then it changes the whole
The
dynamic.
thought of having Hemsworth's leather-clad buttocks thrust into your face may seem on paper like a fantasy, but after 3 hours it gets tired.
Did they not prepare you for that in Dwarf College?
No, they didn't. That was the day I missed.
It was a great scene to shoot because you knew in the script that it was funny, and what's nice about a scene like that is it's very contained, so lots of the variables go, so you know exactly where you are for the duration, and you know where everybody is. And comedically, that's really good because you know you can go bump, if that makes sense. You know, so I was really looking forward to doing it, and then, sure enough, it turned out really good.
I went to the screening last night. Everyone was laughing through that.
Oh,
scene.
great!
Like everyone
Fantastic!
did it. It was great.
Great.
And we've got time for one more question. Oh, see, I told you. No, I said when I ask. What's taking you so long?
Hi, Georgina from The Sun Online. Just from what Rob was saying, as you know, you and Nick are comedians, did you find yourself going off script a lot, improvising, making each other laugh unnecessarily that was on camera? And they kept it?
Well, I think, you know, you always have to kind of pay tribute to the effort someone's put into writing it, you know, so you always do what's written, and, you know, sometimes it doesn't help improvising a lot, you know. But I think Cedric was very keen that we'd do it as written, and then we could just kind of loosen it up and have a bit of fun with it. And sometimes Rob would come to the trailer in the morning and say, hey, what about this? And we'd kind of work something out, or, you know, so it's nice to be able to go and have a say.
You were given some leeway then, even though you stuck to the script, you were given some leeway to bring your
but
own things to the table.
Precise. It's a very precise thing. If you've seen it and you see the scale of it, and there's so many component parts, whether it's the costumes, the stunts, the green screen, so you can't just whatever you want, and it's shot from so many angles, it's all little component parts. But he would let us run on So there'd be little scenes like the one where you wake up after Jessica has caught you. There are a couple of little lines at the end where they can basically just keep the cameras rolling. We see if we come up with anything amusing. But it's very, very structured.
A lot of the time, though, you do that for the other, for Cedric, to make Cedric laugh, or to make the camera guys laugh. You just piss about a bit at the end. But also, you know that it's going to not make it, The thing about improvising in a comedy film is, it always comes at the end of a scene. So, I think the director's always keen to just get out of there and move on to the next bit. It's very indulgent,
Well, you'll have lots of good outtakes anyway.
Yeah.
And you can ask a question. Go on. Yeah.
For Chris, you're very used to really physical roles. How was it to be sort of put up against Jessica Chastain, who had to learn everything again? But does it ever get easier when it comes to training?
Yeah, there's a familiarity to it, but it is a whole new set of steps each time. And I'll take my hat off to her because she had to do it in high heels and lifts and things.
She gave you a run for
which
your
she
money.
gave me, and she looked better in high heels than me. No, but it was incredible because she did all sorts of acrobatics and a lot more sort of aerial sort of movements, and was far more sort of advanced than what my character was doing. But as I said, in that costume, I sort of go, you can have it. It's all yours.
Thank you.